One of the most important aspects of color grading is matching shots together so that everything feels exactly the same. Oftentimes when you shoot a bunch of shots, especially if they're out of order, especially if you have different cameras, they will have different brightnesses, different color tones, kind of different qualities of image. And if you want them all to feel the same and you want your audience to kind of be in that moment with you, you don't want them distracted by like, why does that shot look dark? Or why does that one look green? It's just not cool. So one of our big jobs is to balance out all of the shots so that they all look like they belong in the same world. So let's have a look at our parkour footage here. I'm actually going to make a different look here in our group post clip and just do a little bit of an S curve. Maybe take our gamma down a little bit and maybe push things just a little bit warm, just so we have kind of a nice subtle style on here. So here's before and here's after. And it's really important that you put your style on before you start matching your shots together, because if you change the style, it might change certain aspects of a shot and you might have to go back and kind of rebalance everything. So it's good to just have your style on your sequence here. And then what I like to do is go through the shots and just play them and see if there's anything that sticks out that feels really weird. So do these feel like they all belong in the same world? Does one of them feel too dark? Does it feel strange? What is the deal here? So a couple things right off the bat. This shot and this shot look nice. This shot maybe looks a little bit dark or maybe desaturated compared to the other ones. So I think what we'll do is just adjust that a little bit, maybe add a little bit of contrast and maybe a little bit of boost in the gamma and a little bit of saturation just to kind of bring those colors up. And we can click back and forth and see if this feels right. This shot also feels a little bit cool. So maybe we'll take the temperature over and make it a little warmer, just so this feels like it's in the same world. And we're definitely getting there. Let's push this just a little warmer and maybe take a little bit of the magenta out of the tint. And now those feel like they live together. And shot 7, I think maybe feels pretty good. Shot 8 is a little bit blown out, and that could be just because of the glare on the lens, but either way, it's distracting. There's nothing that's dark enough in this image. And we can tell that by going to our vector scope and going to the parade. We'll see that none of these little things actually touch 0, which means that they're not really even close to black. Everything's kind of lifted. Whereas here in these other shots, we have these a lot closer to 0, down between 128 and 0. And up here, they're barely even touching 128 most of the time. So we can take our lift down a little bit. I'll just roll down with my scroll wheel, just so we have our shadows down at the same level as our other shots. And now we have a much better looking shot. Maybe even take our gamma down a little bit. And everything's feeling like it kind of lives in the same world. And that's really what I like to achieve, is the shots aren't going to look exactly the same. If you have a different angle, if you have a different subject, it's not going to look the same. What it really has to do is be believable that these things happened at the same time or right after one another, and they all live in the same world and nothing is crazy, right? This one, compared to the other ones, I think is a little bit warm, and that might be just because of this big warm wall, but it still just feels, it feels not quite right. So let's take the temperature down a little bit here and let's compare it with this other shot. And this is definitely getting a little bit closer. I feel like these shadows here are maybe a little bit dark and maybe just a little bit cool. And so we'll bring those up a touch and take the lift away from cool just to neutralize those shadows. Now here's our better match. And again, If I want this shot to be the exact same grade, I can select it and then middle button mouse click on whatever I want to copy my color grade from, which is shot 9, middle button mouse click, and now that should match. Now the reason it's not is because this first shot actually gets darker as we go on. So maybe we want to adjust kind of the end of this shot. So maybe I'll push the gamma up a little bit just here. And again, middle button mouse click on 10. And now as we play this back, it works. This shot is too dark, so we'll push up maybe the offset a little bit, maybe push up the gamma. And again, we'll just compare it to this first shot. It's good to compare all of your shots to one shot rather than just one another. Because what'll happen is just like when you play telephone and you say, oh, the teacher's missing, and at the end it says, oh, the teacher's missing purple monkey dishwasher, things will change over time. So you want to make sure that you're always kind of comparing to one constant, right? So we'll compare it to this shot, and does it feel like it's in the same world? And I'd say maybe, but it's a little bit warm. So we'll take the temperature down just a touch. And now that feels a lot better. And this one feels the same as the other one. So now we've kind of balanced out our shots under our look. And it's a lot less distracting. There's nothing really that's worrisome that makes us question, why is that shot there? Or why does that look dark? Why is that too cool or too warm or whatever? We can kind of jump into the scene. And that's really what we want anytime that we do color grading.